I walked onto a set and people were making something and going the extra mile because they loved what they were doing. And that is not always the case. In a lot of these, movies that have, 3 times the budget, they're not necessarily making it because they love it. And they're like, I love this character. I love this story. And we feel that. I mean, we as the actors always feel that as well. Why do we all start doing this? Because we love to do it. And that's what, to me, that film really is.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Robbie Tann is an actor. He sat down with me on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to talk about the work.
Do you have a typical way that you like to begin your preparation process when you get a new character?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime I get a script in the past, when I first started acting, I would just jump in and try to immediately, get it down, get the lines down, try to start understanding the character and how I was going to play it just from the jump. And I think over time, particularly in the last, I would say 5 years, I try to work a lot more subconsciously. So I spend a lot of time just away from the script. So I will read it once. Yeah, yes. I'll give it a read, and I'll go, almost like I want to get in touch with what is my perspective from like a casual viewer, not someone who's even working on this. Like I want to be able to see the piece as if I'm being completely objective. Mm-hmm. And then I start to, if I have time, which is not always a luxury to be able to, work on something, or have a big lead time before you start. But if I have time, I'll read it once and I will spend a week just thinking about the themes that are just coming up in my daily life, that connect to the material itself. So that's typically where I start, and then I'll go back and I try to make it like an editing process of what is really like the juice that I connect to, and I start to kind of cut away at it, but not in this really deliberate way until I absolutely have to do that. So anytime I just want to get in touch with subconsciously like what I'm responding to, and my academic brain wants to write it all out and figure out the beats and figure out what does this character want. But I find that it's much more interesting when I just sort of I'm in the shower and I'm like, oh, that moment connects to this moment in my life, and I didn't even think about that. And those are like real connective threads than the ones that I try to force by sitting down and reading it over and over and over again. Okay. At least up front.
This is really interesting. But you said it's more interesting, but there is a real reason you're doing this, right? It's not like now that those threads lead to something better for you than if you actually write out the thing. So it's not just that it's interesting, right? You're saying like, this is the path that is going to lead to more fruit.
Absolutely, 100%.
Tell me more about that though. Like, you know what I mean? Because somebody might not be able to understand that. That is actually making it the work better. Yes. It's not just that it's not easier. It's not easier.
Harder. For me.
It's harder.
Yes.
So in other words, you are getting better and more experienced, but the work is getting harder, but it's getting better.
Yes. So essentially what I've found in my own work as an actor is that very early on, particularly, coming out of an academic setting, I was very much wanted to be in control of my performance. This is who the character is. This is what I believe that they want, or I'm trying to accentuate some certain aspects to the audience, like he's in pain because of X, Y, Z. And I think that working in this subconscious way and trying to get in touch with things that I'm not actually in control of sort of allow the character to breathe in ways that maybe even I don't understand. Yes. That there are things about a character that I don't necessarily have to completely control it to, and I may not even be in touch with what the audience receives in it. But that's kind of the magic of it and that's the magic actually of people. Like when you're going through something in your life, you don't have this all-encompassing idea of exactly what's going on and how it's factoring into how your mother treated you. I don't know what, but I'm trying to get in touch with how I actually operate in real life to a certain extent, which is I'm just kind of present and things kind of happen and they come up as they come up. And it's a challenge because it is a Zen kind of, and it's very much a practice for me. It's not, it's in response to my desire to control the performance. But the more that I do this, the more I leave a set and I go, I don't really know what I just did. And then I watch it back and I go, I think that was actually, like, I'm getting better. You know, it's kind
amazing.
of weird, that disconnect there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And isn't it true then that what you're really trying to do is get to a point where you would be on the level of somebody that has no idea what they're doing and is amazing.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
In other words, you're getting back to a place of pre-training in a way.
Yeah.
Even though your training has brought you here.
100%.
And isn't that so interesting about this work?
Yes. Well, TV and film particularly requires this, and I've learned this the hard way. And you can go and you can see my process. Like, I didn't study TV and film with like a teacher. I learned on the job. So you can watch my work from the first job I did up until the moment now, and I think you can see that very clear progression. And what I've learned really is that there's so much going on, right? Like, there's so many stakes. There's the camera, there's the budget, we got to make the day, there's the writer, there's the director. They all have an idea of what should be happening, and I, as the actor, if I start to consider all of those outside sources, it actually really affects my ability to be present in the moment. So it's sort of like I have to learn how to push all that control stuff. I can't worry about what's happening out there.
Right.
You know, I can to a certain extent that we have a creative relationship with the director and I, but in the moment I have to be able to just go, this is what it is today. Like, I can't worry about that. I can't worry about if the character is as fully developed as I want it to be, or I didn't have enough time with the material.
Right.
I just got to be right here in the moment, and whatever happens, that's kind of the magic of it.
And do you find that when people that you're playing opposite of, they're operating maybe where you were operating a couple years ago, right?
Absolutely.
And you can see it.
Yes.
Right? Is that hard for you to get to a place that would work for you when you have to deal with people who are working in that way?
It cuts both ways. In the way that I used to be sort of closed off, I think, as an actor to other actors, when actors would demand that I be present with them, it would snap me into a presence with them. So I think on the other side of that now, I am just like, I'm just going to be with you. We're just going to do this scene together, and it's going to happen. Like, if it doesn't, it doesn't. But all I can do is just go, hey, I'm here and I'm with you. Yeah. And I'm looking in your eyes, and I'm throwing the ball, and we're bouncing it back and forth. It can be challenging, but also there are times when you feel it. You go, well, you're with me. Like, I'm with you, and we're actually like throwing this ball back and forth, and we're gonna dare to kind of be present in the moment right now.
How are you able to work this way in an audition? You know what I mean? Like, that's got to be a little hard.
I think that it has become increasingly more of like a litmus test for where I really am in this practice, because auditioning for many years for me was thinking a lot about what they were looking for, thinking about they're probably looking for somebody who can bring out this element in this character, or they want somebody taller, they want somebody edgier, and thinking a lot about that perspective and trying to take that perspective of what they're looking for and try to be that. And I think that now, and this is probably within the last 6 months to a year that I'm really starting to get comfortable with this, is I just go in and I don't worry about what they want really anymore. Because what happens is when you go in and let's say you book a job doing what you think they want. The creative sort of symbiosis is not actually there. right? There's actually not real connectivity between a director and an actor if I'm just pretending to do something because I think you want it. But it's when I bring what I really love and believe in a role, and a director goes, I see that too. That we go, this is a match. This is like a real match. It's like dating to a certain extent.
I was just going to say, my wife did a video of this because she's a therapist. Did a video of talking about this.
Oh,
basically,
really?
it's trying to tell women, don't like put on this thing of what you think men want. Be yourself, because ultimately, like, do you want to play that the whole time?
Exactly.
And have the dude be into that person that you don't want to be? Wouldn't you rather just, it's the same thing here. Wouldn't you rather just show what you can do and how you can do it, and then make them want that? Or make them want it, maybe, but maybe they will automatically be like, I've been waiting for this. Why is everybody giving me what they think they want?
It's true. You sort of start to realize why directors work with certain actors all the time. It's not just because they like them on a personal level. It's because there's this, Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese. There's actually a real like synchronicity between them. Martin Scorsese understands Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio understands the vision of Martin Scorsese. They're in lockstep, and it's a natural fit. It's not just a arbitrary, he's a star and this is a star director. And that's what you only get if you're willing to go into an audition and really just put down the version of the character that you really connect with and believe in. Because conversely, if you do the opposite, it's just the work. To me, it never really pans out. Even if you get the job, it can look. It just, when you see that disconnect between a director and an actor, it's very obvious to me.
Yes. And what do you need in that relationship? Like, what ultimately at this point in your career do you realize that you need? How has this changed too? And I'm talking about just, what are the elements that you can explain?
First, what I have to offer is I think that what I bring to it inherently is a lot of thought and a lot of consideration of the material and what I think the material requires, and bringing a lot of myself to the material every time. I'm always trying to bring the most personal, honest performance I can and try to fit the style of the show. And I think that, for me, what I look for, what I'm attracted to in a director, and have had success with directors who appreciate that vision, also have their own really, really strong vision, and have really good, compelling arguments as to why it should be, I should make an adjustment, right? Like, and it's not a standoff. It's always a creative collaboration. Like, what I want more than anything is the best version of this movie, the best version of this character, and I want us to be working together to bring that out, right? It's like it's an active, in the moment working process with the director. I know some maybe get hands off in a on-set environment. Like, I let the actors do their thing. No, I want to know what your vision is. I want you to tell me what you think this scene is supposed to be, and we can figure it out together. On the other side of that, I don't respond to times when the fact that I have considered something deeply is just sort of thrown away without any consideration. Or I'm not offered a better vision than what I feel that I've brought.
You want to be convinced out of that.
Absolutely. And it's not hard, but
you're not going to fight.
No.
But just make the point.
Yes.
Right.
I have a strong creative vision of my own, and I want to collaborate, and I want that your vision. I like directors with a vision. Really, that's what I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
You have a strong idea of what you're making.
Yeah. And you will fit in with that, but it's just
absolutely.
You just need to. They need to be clear. You're saying like you bring yourself. You try to bring so much of yourself to these roles, but what about when you're playing somebody like this motherfucker, this paparazzi motherfucker, in this Black Mirror episode?
Yeah.
You hate. Right, I've heard you talk about that, right? You hate these paparazzi
I
people.
do.
Right?
That was a tough one.
So this is somebody, you have to, like everyone says, you have to find a way to love this character, or at least not judge them. Now, how do you start there? How do you not simply not judge this person first off, and then how do you bring yourself to someone so not like you?
You have to find the connective threads where you can and just build off of those relentlessly. And I think that for me, that character started with a lot of research. Even the costume department on that show had a lot of great research that they sent me, some documentaries that I watched, and it was absolutely a practice of trying to overcome my very deep-seated like disdain for TMZ and all those gossip columns and all those things. But ultimately, what I saw that I could connect with this character is that during that time, these paparazzi guys, they felt like they were part of the industry, like they were artists, and to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And that was I went really hard with this guy believing he's almost like an artist, like a chaos artist. That it was something that he really had strong creative opinions about, and felt like he was really doing something that people were attracted to, almost like he's a performance artist. And to me, that helped me bring my own sense of at least not thinking of this guy as a villain, but understanding him as why he might be doing this in a way that is not him just being a bad guy, but him actually thinking of himself kind of as an artist. And that to me was the only way I could get into the head of somebody like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You almost have to if you can't relate on a level of their actual being, you can relate on a way of what they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am fascinated, in awe, and like gobsmacked that the creator was filmed with this like $6,000 camera.
Yep.
And I'm curious if that decision affected everything down to the point where it's affecting how you are working, and it made it better. I think that movie's an exceptionally directed movie, and a lot of people don't understand what that means. I can't watch a lot of science fiction anymore. I can't watch any Marvel shit.
Nope.
I don't like any of this shit. Like, as soon as you put that on, it's immediately like you're in a vision. You're in it. This is an artist. This is like old school, like what I want out of a storyteller.
Yeah.
But to hear that it was shot on this Sony camera that I can buy right now, it just stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, okay, wait. If this guy knows what he's doing and he's using this, I want to know what his rationale is. I want to know how that made it for the actors on the set. Just talk about that.
I just have to say, I think Gareth Edwards, who directed the movie, is truly an auteur. Like, is in the realist sense, he does everything, and he is the guy operating the camera. I mean,
he's operating the camera.
He's operating the camera. He is. When you say that movie was a vision, he had a vision, and it was remarkable to work with him and watch him make that film. It's one of the few things I've worked on that director, along with some amazing crew people. I mean, just some of the most creative, artistic crew members I've ever worked with worked on that as well. But that was his movie. I mean, he designed all of the costumes, the whole world, all of it. And so from that standpoint, it was truly, I hope people will appreciate, eventually what that movie really is. And I think it looks so good that people don't understand that this was made by such a small group of people.
That's amazing, yeah.
But from an acting perspective, what was the most exciting thing about it is it was this vibe of an indie film, which I've worked on a lot. It's a small crew. It's like 6, 7 people sometimes filming these really intimate scenes. There's a scene in the movie where I'm basically dying in the back of a car. We're in the middle of Thailand. Gareth is in the back seat right next to me with the camera, right? It's just the 4 of us in the car with the sound guy, mic and everything. So it's this intimate environment.
Yeah.
And we would just do take after take after take. And I was like, this is for, as an actor, getting to just roll through this over and over and over again without cutting. And it's this intimate vibe. It feels like an indie film with like an $80 million budget. It was truly one of my favorite experiences working on anything ever as an actor. And he, in particular, I know for a fact that I didn't necessarily come in and bring what he envisioned initially for the character, but more than any director I've ever worked with, he saw what I did and he enabled what I did.
Tell me how, though.
I think that I brought a lot in that character, I think from a physical standpoint. He said to me at one point he didn't see the characters having so many mannerisms, or maybe being as large, because he's got a very specific directing style, which I really like. Actors are very underplayed. It's very real. It's very straightforward. And I was a little bit, I would say, edging towards over the top for what he typically does. But he rolled with it. He didn't try to turn me into a different actor. And I had a vision for it, the specific idea for it. And he had a lot of ideas and he would give me notes and adjustments, but it was always this sense of like, yes, and I'm going to build on top of what you're bringing.
He was playing on your, he was playing the game on your field,
yes,
but bringing his own balls and stuff.
Yes, I think what the best thing a director can do from an actor's perspective is not try to change the actor, but see what they're bringing to it and try to cultivate that. And for me, he did that with everybody, and it wasn't just me. I mean, his ability to kind of, with every department, just go around and hear what people had to say and really acknowledge their ideas. And there's a lot of directors who in that position could have a lot of ego as well.
Yeah.
But I find that with someone like him who really knows what he's doing, there's just no ego there. There's no, with all the crazy stuff we did across Thailand, he was so kind and generous and just even keeled. And we were doing crazy drives, crazy set pieces, all on location. Like there's real skill on display in that movie when you look at how small it was and what they ended up doing. I mean, some of the things people don't even know too, probably about like all the robot stuff and like
crazy.
I mean, there was no real prosthetic that anyone was wearing.
I'm figuring it was just like a green thing they were wearing.
No, it's just dots on the face. And you have entire characters who were in costume, who were turned into robots after the fact.
Those things that are like the robot heads.
No green, none of that.
Whoa.
Those are real people walking around in like those costumes. And so it's like people don't really understand the movie that got made.
And it's just a thing to hold up as, I'm sorry guys, this is the evidence here. It's not about the tool.
Yeah.
It's about the person using the tool.
Yes.
I feel like we just want to get to a place where we can allow actors to act.
Yeah.
We can allow time. And using that kind of camera as the centerpiece of the way we're going to do this just feels like, I'm sorry, we have evidence now.
Yes.
Like, stop.
Yeah.
Like, let's reevaluate things here.
Yeah. To your point, it's made earnestly. It's made with passion and with a love for the craft and for the art's sake. And as an actor, I responded to that. Like, I walked onto a set and people were making something and going the extra mile because they loved what they were doing.
Right.
And that is not always the case.
Right.
In a lot of these, movies that have, 3 times the budget, they're not necessarily making it because they love it. And they're like, I love this character. I love this story. And we feel that. I mean, we as the actors always feel that as well. And I think that it is proof of what you can pull off if you just... why do we all start doing this? Because we love to do it.
Exactly.
And that's what, to me, that film really is.
Right. It sounds like he was making it in the way that like we used to make films when we were really young.
100%.
You know what I mean?
14 years old, and you grab your camera
with the VHS camera.
100%.
Running around.
Yes. That was the vibe.
Right? And that translates to an excitement.
Yep.
That you're watching it, and a aliveness.
Yeah.
This made a lot more money than they thought it was going to. Being a totally like fresh kind of
with no help from the actors during the strike because we couldn't publicize it. So and I think it'll get a second life on when it starts. Right now I think it's on demand, but I think once it goes to the streaming services, like I think it'll have a nice second life, and it deserves it in that sense. If people want something different than what they've been getting, there's a path here.
Was there a similar kind of necessity to change the way things are done on something like Mare of Easttown, where Kate Winslet comes on there as an executive producer as well? Did she set a tone about how this was going to be made and how actors are going to be able to do their work on this?
100%. I mean, it's commonly understood that the person at the top of the call sheet sets the tone for the whole thing a lot of times. And the reason why that show worked on every level was her. And it wasn't just because she's extremely nice. It's because she cared deeply about the project. And on top of that, was extremely good at being direct about what needed to happen, but also never did it in a way that denigrated anyone. And for me, as an actor who at that time, this is a huge job for me, I never felt like she was looking at me like, what is this guy doing? Which, someone's an executive producer, it's Kate Winslet, like there's a lot of intimidation factor there. She absolutely was extremely encouraging of everybody around her, encouraging of the performances around her, was always thinking about other people's performances, making sure that they got what they needed. So yes, without her setting that tone and without her sensitivity, that show would not have been what it was at all.
Do you ever get to a point where you start to think, this is awesome, I'm doing really well, I like when I have these moments where I can actually act, but I want to get back to theater work. That's where the actor really is alive and can do the fullness of their work. Do you think like that?
Yes, absolutely. I think theater work has become infinitely more attractive. I've had several auditions for theater stuff recently for the first time in years because I've been focusing on TV and film more.
Right.
And there is absolutely a creative, a very fulfilling creative process for me that happens when I'm working on even a theater audition. It's different in that it is just about me and the material, and that's it. There's not all this extra stuff. What is the shot going to be?
Yeah.
Where's this? What network is this going to be on? Where do I have to travel? It's like acting in its purest form.
Yeah.
And I absolutely miss that.
Yeah.
I absolutely miss the starting a play and 2 hours later you've done the whole journey of the play. That kind of catharsis that comes from working on a play. I really am missing that because I've spent a lot of years building my TV and film career from some would say from a business perspective. I'm trying to build my way up to having a career.
Yeah.
But that does at times come at the expense of feeling creatively fulfilled. Mm-hmm. You're not always just chasing the jobs that are going to, I play Hamlet for 10 people down in the Village if I could. Like I would 100%. If someone was like, "We're doing Hamlet, only 10 people are invited. You can play Hamlet." Absolutely, I'm doing that play. Right?
Yeah.
And I do miss that. I do feel that is missing. I'm hoping that the TV and film stuff gets to a point where I am feeling more creatively fulfilled. But theater, absolutely, I would love to go back and do more of that as well.
Because you're now operating with so much subconscious focus, let's say that, is there anything that you have to do in your regular life to kind of keep that petri dish fresh for when that stuff does come in and you start reading, that it will marinate in that bowl?
Yeah. In the past, I would probably have spent a lot of time in downtime, or times when I'm not working, really like reading a lot of acting books and like really still focusing on the craft and really doing all those kinds of things, and oftentimes at the expense of my personal life. And strangely, maybe not strangely, but in a kind of beautiful way, the more I've cultivated my personal life, the more that I've invested in my friendships, the more that I've invested in my, family stuff that's going on with my partner, the more when I get an audition or I get a piece of material that I get to work on, the more stuff is just there. It's like if I'm just part of being an actor, and I didn't really realize this till very late, is living all the time with a certain sensitivity and living and having things to draw on. And I thought that was just kind of something people said, you got to live a lot, but it really is true. I had a friend pass away like a year and a half ago, and after a really long battle with cancer, and I didn't act really for like 6 to 8 months, and then I started getting kind of material that was like right in line with this, and it wasn't conscious, but it was all there. Do you know what I mean? And it's not like you want those things to happen so you have them for the work, but if you're really present in life and you're living it and you're going through stuff and you're really in conversation with it, when you get a piece of material that really is in line with something that's going on in your life, boy, it just cracks open in this kind of amazing way than if you were to just force it, like this is a grief piece. Well, I think about even the creator and like kind of the synchronicity between what was going on in my life at the time and what was going on in the movie, and ways in which I try to use this is during COVID. I was around my girlfriend at the time for two years. We didn't really spend a day apart, and it was awesome. It was beautiful. And COVID, The Creator was shot kind of the tail end of COVID at the start of 2022. And that was the first time we were away from each other after 2 years of being together all the time. I'm across the world in Thailand. And so there was this real, just deep, I just felt like I couldn't, things didn't make sense, like the world didn't make sense, we're not together anymore. And the character in that movie is trying to get through this war, doing anything at any cost to get back to his wife, ultimately, right? And so there's a real thing that was happening with me that I felt very strongly was connected to this material.
Wow.
And sometimes sometimes there's this wonderful synchronicity where you're like, that's probably why I am working on this, right?
Yeah.
It's because there's something that I'm just subconsciously connected to, in an audition setting. So that's always the fun thing to me. I always try to go, what's going on in my life? How do I bring it into the work I'm doing right now?
Yeah. Robbie Tann, please come back on this show anytime.
Absolutely, yeah, of course.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham, formerly IFP. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.